behind Bobby Rahal. In fourth place is Stefan Johansson, who just flashed across the line. And Mario Andretti runs in fifth. In that championship points battle, Nigel Mansell is sixth, and Emerson Fittipaldi is seventh. So Mansell will pull a little further ahead of Fittipaldi. If they finish as they are now, he'll pick up an additional 2 points. Jan Beekes?
When you look at those gaps, Paul, as far as Scott Goodyear keeping up with Bobby Rahal, you have to look more closely, and that is that Stefan Johansson is coming right up now, 1.8 seconds. What that means is that Bobby Rahal is driving to the fuel numbers. He has backed off. Scott Goodyear has probably not lost sixth gear. He's just having a hard time selecting it. The crew right now is cheering for Johansson as he's closing on Goodyear.
Well, as they come onto the pit straight again, Johansson has Mashusta just ahead of them. There is Tony Bettenhausen. The Tony Bettenhausen Motorsports crew, as they cheer him on each lap, and they watch on the big screen Diamond Vision that they have here, and they see now that Johansson finally has gotten around Mashusta and has a free run now on Scott Goodyear just ahead.
And that was Melvin Lucas we saw there, who's the fueler for this team. So there's obviously no fuel left in that tank because Melvin doesn't have his fireproof helmet on or his balaclava, so his day is done. Now he just enjoys Johansson doing his job.
You called Luke Melvin on nationwide, worldwide, in fact, television?
I'm trying to be nice for once.
He's going to be nice to you with his right fist when he finds you. That's what he'll do. So Scott Goodyear certainly can see Johansson behind him. Al Unser Jr. continues to remain unchallenged at the front of the field. There's Goodyear on the pit straight. He started this race on the pole. Spectacular run yesterday. Nice qualifying. Picked off the pole in the last few minutes of qualifying from Bobby Rahal.
That's right. In fact, Rahal had it all through the session until Goodyear on his last lap stopped, and then Goodyear had to make a pit stop. And he was out of his car watching the dying minutes to see could he hang on to that pole position, which of course he did, and of course to the delight of everybody here in Canada.
Well, and to show you how much fun IndyCar qualifying can be, on Friday at the last second, it was Stefan Johansson that jumped up from nowhere into second quick of the day with a spectacular run.
And I suppose it's fair to say Tony Bettenhausen's Amex crew deserve a good result because they have been so close to podium finishes many times this year, only to have mechanical gremlins jump up and bite them.
So 93 laps complete for Al Unser Jr. Theoretically, all of the pit stops are now complete. And will Shelley join her husband in victory lane? Well, we'll find out. We'll be back to the finish. 7 laps to go in the run at Vancouver. Al Unser Jr. just got around his teammate Danny Sullivan, put him another lap down. He remains in front of Bobby Rahal, but maybe Al Unser Jr. is now using a little bit of fuel strategy as well, because Rahal is 4.5 seconds behind. Let's, though, first review the situation of Mario Andretti, who is 5th, and Nigel Mansell, who is 6th. We would hope that they would be better. Jan Beekes, what's the story there?
Paul, we checked in with the crew, and they have not radioed back, but what we do know is that the Lola car is very hard to find that balance. In the words of Chip Ganassi team manager Tom Anderson, he says, there's no such thing as a balanced 93 Lola. It's an oxymoron. They don't go together. It's only degrees of understeer and oversteer. It looks like the Newman Haas crew just doesn't quite have the setup. They're giving it everything they have, but right now, just not the right setup for this course.
And Al Unser Jr.'s position now 4.3 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal with 6 laps to go. What is it? You think little Al's managing some fuel too here?
Yes, I would say so. He looks strong. I wouldn't say there's anything problem with the tires. And Al Jr. knows how to manage his races. He follows his pit boards. Remember, every time he goes by the pit lane here, they give him the numbers on his pit board, even if his radio communication is suspect. He knows how to manage his race. But believe it or not, he's about to put a lap on Nigel Mansell.
Reigning world champion, red number 5, is just ahead of him. Of course, he's in a solid position in the PPG points. What he needed here was a good, solid, safe race. He has that. It would have been nice to see a greater battle with Mansell, some more points. That's not to be, and Al Unser Jr. now closes on him. He will put Mansell 1 lap behind the lead. Mansell runs in 6th. And then just ahead of Mansell, who comes offline. See, no battle there at all. Mansell playing it so very careful.
Mansell's contract is not solidified for next year yet. He is negotiating with Carl Haas, so as everybody agrees on everything and all the stipulations and all the smaller points of a contract, but it's not signed yet, but he is negotiating to stay here for a second year of IndyCar racing.
5 laps to go. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Rick, earlier there was concern about fuel. 5 laps to go. What's the situation now?
Well, we look good on fuel right now, Gary, so it's just a matter of bringing her home.
How long's it been since you've had nerves like this? Been a while.
Yeah, it feels good. The guys have done a good job. Hopefully we can get these other 4 laps.
All right, we'll wait it out with the team here, Paul.
Well, 4 laps to go because Little Al flashed across the start-finish line again. Of course, the Gallus team scored a victory in Detroit with Danny Sullivan. And really, Rick Gallus considers Al Unser Jr. his driver. That's the team that he manages, so he doesn't count in his own column that win, even though it was a Gallus Racing win. Al Unser Jr., the inaugural victory here. Here's Goodyear, but look behind him. There's Johansson.
There is Johansson. This fight will go all the way to the end. Johansson is obviously quicker. There's a yellow flag for somebody, but Johansson is closing up now. Look, he's within a car length of Scott Goodyear. Goodyear has a fight on his hands.
And the fight is for 3rd place.
This is the rostrum. This isn't just points. This is the rostrum. You stand and you shake champagne in front of your Canadian home crowd, hopefully for Goodyear.
Scott Goodyear has nursed this car so many different ways. Started on the pole. He's been in out of trouble a couple of times here today, and now is just holding on by his fingertips.
The sticker you see there on his helmet on the left side, that's for the Victoria Commonwealth Games, which he's happy to advertise because they're Canadian on his car and on his helmet.
And Gary Gerald, an update.
Good news as far as Stefan Johansson is concerned, I'm sure, in the cockpit, because just a couple of laps ago, the crew gave him the go-ahead for 100% rich on fuel. That's why he is really closing now in this challenge against Goodyear for 3rd place and a spot on the podium.
So the fight on the course is for 3rd, Johansson and Goodyear. Al Unser Jr. has pulled out a bit on Rahal now. He's nearly 7 seconds ahead of 2nd place Rahal.
This is the fight that our Canadian TV broadcasters will follow for us, because this is where the fight is on the racetrack. Scott Goodyear, the very first Canadian ever to win a pole in Canada.
Whereas Paul Tracy pulled off that victory in Toronto. The crowd went nuts during the final laps there. Now with 2 laps to go. Al Unser Jr. will see the white flag indicating a single lap to go next time passed.
Oh, it's getting tight here. That's Bozell that's ahead of him, so he needs a clear run if he's to have a fair fight here with Johansson. But Johansson is so close to the rostrum. Remember what he did to Rahal last year. Took a chance and went down the inside and got away with it. And Rahal went to the wall.
That's an inspired Swede just behind Scott Goodyear. Raul Boesel sits in front of both of them. Boesel runs in 9th place. Not a factor in this battle. Al Unser Jr. makes a turn onto the pit straight. He will see the white flag. An indication of a single lap to go now. There it is. Al Unser Jr. on his way to his first victory of the season. The 2nd for Gallus Racing.
And a final footnote on the Gallus car. Hohen Snyder told me that their car also uses the Penske shock absorbers. They must be good.
Working for Al Unser Jr. here today, still keeping an eye, looking back for Goodyear and Johansson. There's Little Al. Bobby Rahal is 8 seconds back now in 2nd place. The fight is at 3rd. And there it is as Johansson comes around Goodyear. Goodyear,
he's in
something
trouble.
wrong as he came on the pit straight.
He is in trouble. He's slowed down a great amount here along the front straight. Johansson is on the rostrum. His team will be delighted. But a heartbreak for Scott Goodyear. Is it fuel? It may be fuel.
It may be a further break because as Al Unser Jr. takes the checkered flag, Mario Andretti is closing on Scott Goodyear as well. So here in Vancouver, Al Unser Jr. takes the win. Bobby Rahal flashes across the line in 2nd, and Stefan Johansson will finish in 3rd place. The race is run in Vancouver. Today's coverage of the Vancouver IndyCar Grand Prix has been brought to you by Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. By Budweiser, fresh, pure, natural, proud to be your bud. And by Walmart, always the low price, always. Well, the race race is complete as Al Unser Jr. finally rolls to a stop. He has taken the win here in Vancouver. Bobby Rahal in second place. Stefan Johansson picks up a podium position right at the end of the run, finishing in third. Scott Goodyear was able to hold off Mario Andretti. Goodyear finishing in fourth place and Mario Andretti finishing in fifth. Let's go down now to Gary Gerould.
Sliding up out of the cockpit. Boy, it's been a while since he's been able to experience this kind of emotion, and there's a lot of emotion here. Alan Mertens is here, Shelley's here, Owen Schneider, of course. The helmet's still on, and as soon as we can get an opportunity, we'll get a very quick word with Al Unser Jr. as we're just about out of time. But I tell you, he's getting handshakes and hugs from everybody related to this team because it's the first win, of course, of 1993. Junior, tell us about what it feels like, because it's been a long dry spell for you to get to this point, to be able to savor victory once again in an Indy car.
Well, it really feels great. You know, it's been a long time since we've been here, and you know, it was the last win we had was Indy 500, and you know, that's a good one to win, but we've been fighting very hard to get it back, and you know, I gotta give this win to my guys because they were
great in the pits, weren't they?
They had an awesome pit stop. You know, I couldn't pass Bobby for anything. He could pull me off the corners well enough that I couldn't outbrake him going in the corners, and so I just said, well, if I can stay with him, then I'll let my guys do it, and sure enough, man, they put me 7 seconds in front of him, and that's
all right
the way to go.
Congratulations, Junior. Let's go to Jan Bikus.
Well, Bobby Rahal is just finishing up his interview with CBC because we have many broadcasters here. When he is done, we'll grab a quick word with him. Bobby Rahal has put in a clutch performance today up there with former teammate Al Unser Jr. We're standing by just for him to finish that up. He was speaking with his crew and engineer Bernie Marcus at the end saying, we gave it everything we got. Rahal, tough run today, almost got it.
Well, it's disappointing, you know, to lead so much of the race and then come up short at the end. It just, you know, he really made hay on me in those last 2 laps. He stayed out 2 extra laps, and you know, it came out. We just got in traffic, and you know, that's all it took, really. But I'm pleased we ran so hard, and the car qualified very well. So, you know, 2 months ago I would have been pleased as punch with a second.
Thank you, Bobby.
Well, Bobby Rahal's year finally coming back together as he finishes in second place. Unofficial at the moment, but here's the order with Johansson making that move toward the end. Perhaps of greatest significance here is that Nigel Mansell sits there in 6th place, 1 position ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. And so with this finish, he moves another 2 points further away from Fittipaldi. It was Paul Tracy that actually suffered the worst in the points fight here. He fell 8 further back as we take a look down through the entire running order here. These are unofficial for the moment, but it's assumed that they will be authenticated by the IndyCar officials in about 30 minutes. No real contest to the action. Well, there's the point standings right now. Nigel Mansell continues his lead as they head on to another road course in 2 weeks at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Magnificent facility, one that always produces a great battle. Our congratulations to Al Unser Jr. and Gallus Racing. They have taken the win for the 2nd time here in Vancouver. I'm Paul Page for Derek Daly, Jan Bikus, and Gary Gerould. So long from Canada.